So, welcome to your science lesson today. It's Thursday, May 7th, and we are going to be talking about endangered animals. But first, we're going to refresh our memories and talk about what we learned about on Tuesday, which was that many animals have actually lived on our planet, but a lot of them have become extinct. So remember on Tuesday, we talked about extinct animals, and that means that they are no longer alive. And we learned about one of the ones that was a rhino that actually became extinct 9 years ago in 2011. So it can happen in our lifetime. It doesn't just take a long period of time like the dinosaurs, for instance. So today we are going to be talking about the animals that are still alive but are close to becoming extinct. And these animals are called endangered. So endangered just basically means that the animal is in danger of disappearing forever. So that could be many reasons why the animal there might not be enough numbers of the animal, but that's what it means. It means that there once was a lot of the animal in the world, but now there's not many. And normally endangered means that there could be some that only live in zoos, or there's not very many left in the wild. And we're going to look at some of these animals a bit later on. Now, there's a good video here. If you are interested, you can watch it. It talks about the difference between endangered and extinct and some of the animals that are in those categories. So let's first look at how animals become endangered. Now, we talked about how animals become extinct, so hopefully you can remember, because a lot of these are the same reasons. So, because animals and plants depend on each other and their environment to survive, when their environment changes or disappears, the plants and animals may become endangered or also extinct. And this can be caused by natural disasters or changes in the climate. Now, humans are also a cause of animals becoming endangered. So humans pollute habitats, they destroy habitats, and they even hunt and kill, sometimes too many of a certain type of animal, which is what we found. If you remember the Tasmanian tiger, they were hunted and killed in the wilds. Okay, and that was the same for the rhino as well. Also, the arrival of a new species in a habitat is another threat, and we talked about that as well for extinct animals. So the new species comes in, and because it has no enemies, the other animals there, they don't know what to do, and they're like, oh, who are you? And then that animal that's come in may attack them. So remember the dodo bird, how the cats and the rats came in and ate all of the eggs, and the dodo bird was like, what are you doing? We're like running the land here. So that's another example of how an animal can become endangered, because an animal that's not really from that habitat comes in and kind of takes over. So climate change is a huge part of animals becoming endangered. And two animals or areas that are becoming endangered. So one animal that we know and love, well, at least I love, is polar bears. And climate change is actually hurting their habitats. So what climate change is the gradual warming of our Earth. So our Earth is slowly warming up. And for polar bears, basically, because the planet is warming up, it means that their icy habitat, which they need to live, is being threatened. And because they can't find food easily, because they hunt off sea ice, and the sea ice is melting, then they have to swim for longer distance, and they don't necessarily get the food that they need. So that is something that's happening to polar bears right now in our world, because the world is warming up. Now, it's also hurting things like coral reefs, because when the water warms up, it actually causes bleaching, and that causes the death of corals. And if you remember, a coral is actually an invertebrate creature, interestingly enough. And you can actually see this in Australia at the Great Barrier Reef. And another big problem is poaching. And poaching is just illegal hunting. So that means that you are not allowed to hunt or kill or capture these animals. It is against the law. And people poach because animal products, such as hide, which is like their fur or their skin, the ivory, so an elephant tusk is normally made from ivory, or the horns like we talked about with rhinos. Their animal teeth you can buy, and animal bones are actually sold to dealers who make clothes and jewelry and other material from them. So 2 big animals that are being affected by poachers are Indian tigers, and they get caught with steel traps, which is against the law. And what they do is after they trap the tiger, then they kill it and they sell its body parts for money. And the rhino, we know that they're trying to get the horns because they think the horns is medicine. So any rhino, and I know we talked about the black rhino the other day and how that's actually extinct. And we'll talk a little bit more about some rhinos too. So like the rhino, the tiger is also a very endangered species because of poaching. So what animals are the most endangered? Well, I came up with a list of 7. There's the Amur leopard, the Cross River gorilla, the Javan rhino, the Saola, I have no idea if I said that right, the Sumatran rhino, the Sunda tiger, and the Vaquita. Again, I don't know if I said that right. There's another video link here if you want to check out some more endangered animals. There's a link that shows you a little bit more, so if you're interested. But we're going to talk about these 7 animals now. So the Amur leopard is actually a leopard that does not live in Africa. And it actually lives in Asia, or like Russia, so Eurasia area, I guess. And there's only 84 left in the wild. So only 84. That's basically all of the kids in grade 3. That's it. Imagine that. Just being all of the kids in grade 3, that's all that's left in a whole, than what used to be like thousands and millions. Now the other one is called the Cross River gorilla. And the Cross River gorilla actually only has about 200 or 300 left in the wild. So again, think about it, that's probably the same as grades 1, 2, and 3 at school. So not very many left at all. Then we have the Saola, which is kind of like a little deer, and there are actually less than 800 alive in the wild today. And then beside that, we have the Javan rhino, and there's only 58. There's between 58 and 68 left in the wild. So that's literally almost 2 classes for grade 3. That's crazy. So it's like insane. Okay? Then we have the Sunda tiger, and there are less than 400 that live in the wild. And the Sumatran rhino only has 80 that are alive in the world today. So again, not very many, less than all of our grade 3 classes put together. And then we have the Vaquita, and there are only 10 left in the wild. Just 10, not even one whole grade 3 class. 10. That's it. And they actually live around the parts of Mexico, in that area, in the water, obviously. It's like a dolphin. And there's only 10 left in the wild. So this one is not, we need to do something to protect it really quickly, that's for sure. So how can we protect these animals? Well, there's a few things that you can do. So one, you can learn about the wild animals that we have here in the UAE or even in your home country, and you can become a little bit of a wildlife explorer. You can also create a wildlife habitat in your backyard. Okay, so there's things that you can do. You can plant some flowers. You can leave it a little bit more wild, so wild creatures feel happy to come in there. When I lived in London, we had a lot of foxes, so there was a lot of areas they lived in, a lot of parks and things like that. You should also leave wild animals in the wild. So if you see a snake hanging out in the desert, you probably shouldn't pick it up and bring it home and name it Steve. You probably just want to leave it where it is, okay? You also shouldn't feed wild animals human food, because I'm pretty sure that wild animals don't eat things like, they don't find things like bread just growing from the ground, or candy, or things like that. So it's really important that you don't feed wild animals human food. Animals at the zoo, they have a special diet, and obviously pets have a special diet as well. You also need to be respectful of the environment. So you really need to learn to take care of the environment. And we've talked about how to do this, about saving water and reducing electricity and not littering and things like that. And you should know how to care for injured wildlife in your area. So here you can take some animals to the Falcon Hospital, and they'll help make sure that they're safe and get better soon, and then they normally will release them back into the wild. In Canada, they do that a lot with different animals. If you find an animal, they have rehabilitation centers for different types of animals, and if they get hurt, then they get taken to these places, these animal hospitals, and then they stay there for a while until they're better, and then they get released back into the wild, which is really nice. So there's, again, 2 more videos. These ones are a bit longer, but they might give you some good tips for the next part of this video and what you will be doing today. So you might want to watch them just for the fact that they will give you some good ideas, because your job today is to use this website and choose one animal that you want to know more about. It can be the same one that you studied for your animal report, as long as it's on this list. So let's get it up. This is the endangered species list. Okay, so here are our critically endangered. That means that they are the most endangered animals. And you can go through and you can look at this list. So we have our leopard, the black rhino, a Bornean orangutan, a Sumatran elephant, and it just keeps going. There's an African wild dog, Asian elephant, a blue whale, a bonobo, which is actually one of my favorite forms of apes, just in case you're wondering. Dolphins, there's a fin whale, an Indian elephant, red pandas. Let's get rid of this stuff. Whale sharks, I think you guys know that, a dugong. Okay, there's all sorts of animals, and it just keeps going and going and going. So you can actually choose any one of these animals to research for the next part. So there's a brown bear. So if your animal is actually on this list, okay, then you don't have to choose a different animal. You can actually go through and just choose your animal. If your animal is not on this list, then try to choose one that you know of or that you've heard of, okay? So we'll get out of that. Now, what you need to do is you are going to make a poster telling us about your endangered animal and what we can do to help the animal. So your poster needs to have a large picture or just a picture of your animal, and you can either print this out from your computer or you can draw it. You need to have at least 3 facts about your animal without any spelling or punctuation errors, and at least one way or one reason or one method or one thing we can do to help protect your animal. Okay, you need to use one whole page. Just a normal A4 page is fine. If you want to do a bigger one, that's fine. Now, this is a research template to help you. So as you can see, you literally just need to tell me what your animal is, what habitat they live in, what their diet is, which you know, and then you need to tell me why the animal is endangered and what is being done to help. This is an example. So as you can see, we have the title, your picture, and your facts here, and then this is where you can put the status at the end, which is just endangered. Okay, so this is actually due on Monday, so you have until Monday, the 11th of May, to get this done, and that's it. So I look forward to seeing your beautiful work and for us to find out how we can help protect animals so they won't become extinct.